and what has happened recently and where we want to go. We are just, to give you a brief idea of the mission, right? So the goal here is to promote adoption of AWS cloud technology in Nigeria and in Africa, eventually. We want to try and push for this, technology adoption as much as possible. We want people to learn more about AWS cloud technology. I mean, obviously, there's all kinds of cloud technology out there, but we as members of this group are, focused on AWS. So if you understand, or if you have knowledge about all types of cloud technology, you are definitely welcome. But as we said, we are focused on AWS, and we want to strive for AWS adoption. We also want to build networks. We want to encourage you guys in the group as members. Feel free to build networks among yourself. Feel free to share ideas among everybody, and let's share knowledge. Let's disseminate as much knowledge as we can around using AWS, using AWS cloud technology in general. The goal is for us to build a community that is strong technically and also, network-wise. We want to have people that, for instance, one person sees a job vacancy in his office, and he mentions it to the group. Members of the group benefit from this, or you have an idea and you're looking for a team of people that will help you, architect your infrastructure. This is the group you want to come to, and share that information, and so that members of this group can benefit from it. You're always welcome to do this. So that's a brief introduction about the community. About the organizers. The organizers currently are myself. My name is Samuel Shubowali. I am a DevOps professional. I'm currently working in Blink Fitness. It's a company right here in New York. I have, I've been working with AWS for approximately 5 years now. I have 5 of the AWS certifications. I'm still working or trying to figure out what the next best, certification should be, or where I want my career to, push forward to. And we also have Akim he's also an organizer. Akim, do you want to introduce yourself briefly?
Yes, thanks everyone for joining. My name is Akim Olu. I am also the co-organizer of AWS User Group in Nigeria. I've been working with AWS for more than 10-15 years. I currently I'm a CEO of Acola Tech, which we heavily use AWS for our platform, and I also work on a project for different companies using AWS technology in various aspects of, building software as a services, hosting solution. And I'm glad to be part of this group as an organizer. Also, I just want to bring up that this group is being created by Kemi. She was one of the initial organizer, and me and Sam joining and trying to take this group to the next level using our expertise and experience, and also trying to bring other people in. So this group is not just for us, so it's for everybody else as well that can contribute. So thank you, everyone. And so Sam, send it back to you.
Sure, thank you, Akim. So yes, like Akim mentioned, the group was originally, created and by Kemi. I'm sure most of you know her, but she kind of transitioned her leadership over to Akim and I, and we are trying to drive this group to a different direction, or a similar direction as she was driving it to, but we want it to be clearer, and we want to involve as many more people as we can. So please, if you have any ideas that you want to share, if you have any ideas about how we can, make this group more interactive and more active, please feel free to let us know. We are on the WhatsApp group, we are on the Slack channel, we are on the Meetup application, so you can always hit us up, through any of these channels. going forward. So just jump straight in to today's topic: running a simple web server on EC2. So just a brief information. Please note that this is a beginner or basic level session, and this will benefit members mostly that do not have much knowledge or experience in AWS. You understand? But everybody is welcome to join. Like nobody is restricted from joining. But if you want to benefit the most, if you want to gain the most, this group is you gain the most when you are a beginner or basic level person. Who are the beginner or basic level people? So someone that is a student. If you're a student, you have not done any work in IT or even AWS at all, this will benefit you the most. If you are an IT person that is just looking to learn AWS EC2, this is a session that will definitely benefit you. And also, we want to make this as interactive as possible. That's what we want this session to be, right? So consider this session something like you are new at a job and it's your first time at a job, and somebody is showing you how to create an EC2 web server, right? So if you have something you don't understand, feel free to ask questions, and feel free to stop us. I will go into the format of the session next so we can understand how this will go. So the format of the session. So basically, we have had the introduction and we have shared the information about the group, which the members. We'll be going next into the demo, the live demo. Akim will be presenting that demo. But during the demo, I will be following the questions in the group chat, in the Zoom group chat, and also in the WhatsApp group. So I'll be following all those questions and answering them as much as I can. If there's any questions that require me to stop Akim during his presentation or find some time during the break of his presentation, I would also step in and ask those questions. So, feel free to send your questions into the group. If the questions are similar, I would also consolidate them so we don't have multiple questions, repeating themselves. And after the demo, we would also have another Q&A session. So, we'll open it up again for people to ask questions. If you have any questions that you did not ask during the session, you can ask once it's done. We would have a session for you to ask that then. So before we start, are there any questions? I can see some questions saying, is the admin recording the session?
Yes, we are recording the session. This is gonna be recorded. It's right now we are recording this webinar. So if anyone wanted to watch the recording or somebody missed the webinar, yes, so it will be available for everyone after the demo is completed. Thanks.
Thank you, Akim. How do we join the WhatsApp group? We will share the link in the Zoom channel on to join the WhatsApp group. How do you link to the Slack channel? We will also share the link to the Slack channel in the Zoom group chat. So please look out for that. And yeah, so those are the questions out there now. Akim, okay. You can start.
All right. So let me share my screen. Thank you, Sam, for nice introduction. All right. So hopefully you guys can see my screen. All right. So we're gonna start the demo. So I just wanted to emphasize. So this group is not we are looking for presenters. So we don't want to be the only two presenters. So this is open to everyone who has expertise in AWS and wanted to present. So the floor is all yours. So we just need to know ahead of time, and then we can schedule it and we can. So we need everybody's input in this, user group. So going forward. So please, if you have any skills or any expertise in AWS, please feel free to reach us, and we will be glad to have you as a presenter. All right. So So what are we going to be talking about today? So I'm going to make this as more interactive as possible. Please don't mind my, untidiness if it's, but I just want it to be more interactive so you guys can ask questions. I can pause, but I want it to be more interactive and engaging. So this is going to be live demo. So let me go back. Yes. So I have my slide that I can go to. I have a little jot that. So, okay. So the first step is I just want to walk you guys launch the EC2 instance in VPC. So we're going to be using East 1 region, North Virginia. So you can pick any region you want, but we decided to use this as a default. I'm going to talk about different region briefly. So we're going to be selecting and using Ubuntu 18 AMI of this, and we're going to be using free tier. I guess we don't want to spend any money, but this is a demo, so but you guys understand what it is. So like free tier, I'm going to go over that too. Instance VPC, public IP, some of the configuration. Please, guys, if you're joining, please go on mute. If you're not a presenter, please. Please, everybody go on mute if you're not a presenter so that we can have a good recording session. Thank you. So, tagging, so I'm going to talk about tagging, security group, launch and review. So, I'm going to walk you guys through. And if you guys have any question, please post it in the chat room. And Sam, you can post me anytime for any further questions that we wanted to talk about. All right. So if you guys doesn't have AWS, and I know most of probably few of you don't have any exposure, or some already have exposure to AWS. When you log into AWS console, you presented with this kind of console, AWS management console, and there's a lot of services that you can pick from. So, but today we're going to focus on EC2. So, how do you get to your EC2? So you're going to compute, or you can just type in EC2 here, and then you click on it. And this presents you some dashboard and overview of some of your resources if you already create AWS or if you're not. So the running instances, if you have anything running, and then all other features in AWS. So in this particular, we wanted to launch a new AWS instance. So we click on AWS. So let me walk you back to how I came to this page. So once you log into your console, you're going to be presented with AWS console, and you can type EC2, or you can directly look under the listing of resources, and then you can select the EC2 instance. So when you click on it, so it's going to present you this dashboard. So there's different ways you can access your EC2 directly from this dashboard. You can click on, if you have any running instances, or you can click on the left-hand side menu, which is this one. So there's two ways you can navigate around. So, I'm just going to click on this link which says running instance. And if you have any instances running, it will display here. If you don't, you're not going to see anything. And you can drag this bar up and down to kind of like give you more room. All right, so the first time you launch instances, you click on launch. And for those of you who already know this might sound a little bit repetitive, but for some of you who hasn't, this is probably going to be a new exposure to learn how to run AWS instances. So there's so many, this is what is called Amazon machine image. So these are all pre-configured base images that you can use to launch your EC2 instances. Some of the images, you can have your own images. You can get one from AWS Marketplace or Community AMI. So Community AMI are usually free, Marketplace, sometimes you might have to pay because it's all customized based on certain criteria or certain company who wanted to push their products to AWS for customers. So community AMI is probably the best to get all free AMI. And then most of them are basically basic configuration of AMI, which is, so what is AMI? So AMI is the pre-template of your operating OS, which is operating system. Meaning, if some of you are IT expert, on a VMware or Windows or Linux, you have ISO images, you have images of all kind of operating systems. So in AWS world is presented as machine images, which means it's like a template where you can launch your EC2 from. So you can have, Windows, you can have Linux images based on different flavor of Linux or different or Windows. So in this demo, excuse me, we're gonna pick Linux as our demo, and you can also launch other operating systems like Windows. You can pick different flavor of Linux, which is Fedora, Red Hat, Ubuntu. So in this scenario, we're gonna focus on Ubuntu. So you can navigate through it, and you can click Ubuntu, and then you can select, or you can select any operating system you want, and then you can go down and see which version or which of your choice that fits what you're looking for. So in our demo, we're gonna look for Ubuntu 18.0.4, which should be at least close to the recent. Or if you already know the image AMI ID, you can always type it. So for example, let's say you already know specific AMI ID you want. Instead of going to the list and select one, you can also go to the list and select one. For example, you can select one, or you can type in an AMI. So what is the AMI ID? AMI ID is associated with all the images that is presented in AWS Amazon Machine Image Console. So for here, the way Amazon associate the images with specific OS is through the AMI ID. So AMI ID is customized images specifically to launch EC2 instances. So you can also have your own AMI and upload it to AWS. But this is how AWS identify each machine images, which is the image that you're going to use. So we're going to pick this. Is Ubuntu 18 is 64 bits, and it's by default it has virtualization type, which is hyper virtual HVM, which is the type of virtualization type, and the root type is EBS. We're gonna go over this later on when we try to review. ENA is enabled. So you select any 64 bits, select it, and then so once you choose your AMI, it's gonna present you to the next to choose type of instances. So what type of instances? So in AWS, there's different types of instances from the small to large. It depends on your workload, and it depends on the kind of application you're running. So for this demo, we're gonna pick a free tier. So free tier is Amazon gives you the first 12 months free if you join AWS. If you sign up for AWS, you get to up to $750 hours each month on a certain AWS type, which is micro instances. They just want to make AWS easy to use in the initial stage. If you wanted to test run AWS, so they make it free. Free, there's a limitation, and you can read through it if you want. There's so many limitation of what you can get for free, but it's a place to start, especially if you wanted to learn AWS, if you're a beginner, or if you have a small project or you're doing some kind of a lab test. But as you increase your type instances, the price also increases. So it's different types. There's T3 types. There's which is more resources, low intense type of project. And then you have the memory type, which is you wanted to use the M class, and then you have the C class, the R class, which is more designed towards computing resources. All right, so we're gonna select the general purpose. So this is gonna be T2 micro. It's free, and then they make it clear that it's free, so you're not gonna charge for AWS. So AWS do charge you based on consumption use per resources based on the time. So if you starting off with AWS and you don't want to incur any expenses, it's better to start off with the free tier. Free tier is always free, meaning like if you read through the restrictions and you follow the guidance, you will now be charged basically for AWS. So we're gonna pick that, and if you look at the instance storage, this is the memory, this is the CPU. Your vCPU is virtual CPU, which is the number of CPU that's going to be assigned to your instances. So in this scenario, there's one CPU and the memory is 1 gig. And then the instance storage type is EBS, meaning EBS is there's not attached root storage. So EBS is elastic block storage. This is like virtual disk. In terms of the real world, you have your disk, physical disk, but this is more like a virtual disk. So by default, all the instance types is attached to EBS by default. Some doesn't. You might have to specify the root volume. So what is the root volume and what is additional storage? We're going to go through that in the next storage. You can also pick EBS optimization. So if you look, some of these T2 doesn't have EBS. That's only T3, starting from T3 and upward. So EBS optimization is just allows you to be able to optimize your EBS to get a better performance of I/O intense. So I/O is input and output, meaning like if you have a specific workload and you trying to maximize that workload, maybe you have a database that is running that is I/O intensive or some kind of application, you might want to leverage the EBS. But it depends on your application or your workload that you're trying to run. Network performance, low to moderate, so meaning like your performance in networks will be a little bit degraded from low and it can spike up to moderate. So meaning like you won't get the full bandwidth like most instances, which is like if you go to the T3 Nano, this one starts up to 5 gig of bandwidth. IPv6, most of the instances or most systems is IPv6 based. Somebody, difference between IPv4 and IPv6, it's just you get more different network topology beside IPv4 and IPv6. All right, so let's go to the next configuration instance. So I'm going to click on the next. So here you can pretty much configure your instances, meaning you can customize it based on what you want. So you can say I wanted to launch 2 instead of 1. Request spot instances. So for example, if you wanted to maximize your AWS computing resources in terms of if you want to request uh, buy a spot instances or request a reserve instances, you can select a purchasing option where you can request ahead of time. You can pay upfront for this, but we're not interested in this, so we're gonna leave it unchecked. Network. So what is the network? Network. Think about the network in the real world. If someone's using the IT profession, like networking is just like, how do you talk to one instances or the other? One computers on the network. So AWS has something called virtual private cloud, meaning like you can segregate your network um, in a private network. So you not open your AWS instances or network into the world. So you can make it VPC, which is virtual private cloud. You can have instances talk to each other privately using the PVC network, meaning they're not exposed to the outside. But you can also expose them outside, but that's another topic. But just to give you a summary of what VPC means. So VPC is virtual private cloud, meaning like you can segregate your AWS resources in a private network, so it's not exposed to the public. Subnets, you can click so subnet is based on on your network range. So you can decide to have multiple subnets if you wanted to segregate different network or different, but that's another topic. But so subnet is another layer of how do you want to segregate your network into different subnets, the different IP range. So we're gonna click the default. So these are all default. So you can pick default because this is the purpose of demo. So we're just gonna pick everything as a default. So subnet, we're gonna pick the default, which is in the availability zone. So since we're on the subnet, so what is availability zone? So availability zone in AWS is, think about it as a data center within a region. So if you look on your right-hand side when you log in, you will see all these availability zone. So these US East, not US East, these are all regions in AWS. Think of them as a data center. So this is one data center in North Virginia. This is US East in Ohio. So, and if you can go to another region, this is in US region, you have 1, 2, 3, 4 data centers. And this data center can also have redundancy. So that's how the AWS is able to spread their workload. If you go into Frankfurt, so for example, if you in Nigeria, you might want to pick a region or a data center that is close to Africa. So if you look, I would say South Africa, but South Africa is not listed yet because it's not been fully ready yet. It's still being built. So Europe will probably be the closest to Nigeria. So if some of you wanted to do some kind of project or you wanted to find, okay, what is the closest AWS region or data center to Nigeria? So I will pick Europe, Frankfurt, or Ireland or London, because at least it's close to Nigeria. So you get less latency compared to if you pick somewhere in US or Asia. So this is just a tip. If you decided to want to use AWS for a project and you're looking at how do you maximize your performance. All right, so this is just a subnet. So I just explained what is subnet and then the region. Also, you can also provide a public IP. And I know we're running out of time, but I'm gonna go through this quickly. So you can also pick a public IP, meaning like you can automatically assign a public IP to your private network. So that means you're exposing your network outside so you can communicate. Placement group, we're gonna leave this at a default. Placement group is just like able to place your AWS in a different redundancy network throughput. Capacity reservation, we're gonna leave this. We're not reserving any instances. We're just gonna leave it as open. IAM roles. IAM roles is how do you create a security layer. So you can have a security group or security roles that you might want to limit your instances, so like you can create certain kind of restrictions based on your resources or projects. So that's what IAM role does. It's just how do you limit your resources within AWS, or have instances have access to different resources. It's more like a security layer on what access you should get. CPU options, we're going to leave it as a default, so you can do multi-threading. But we're going to leave this as the way it is. So if you wanted to increase your CPU throughput, you can specify CPU option. How do you want the behavior to be shut down or stopped? So what I mean is shut down is once you stop your instances in AWS, how do you want it to shut down to behave? Stop means you want it to stop. Shut down, if you want it to shut down, you want to terminate it after you shut it down. So we're gonna leave it as stop. It's a lot, but I'm gonna go through it because we have limited time. So enable termination protection is the same thing. You want it to terminate, you can click here so that if you terminate, it's gonna ask you question. It won't just terminate, so it's give you a protection. So that by default, if you click terminate or somebody is working on it on AWS and mistakenly click terminate. So if you click on enable termination protection, it will protect the instance from getting terminated. If you want to enable monitor, if you want to use CloudWatch, you can click this. EBS optimization, we'll talk about this. Tenancy is how do you want to share hardware instances, if you want to use share hardware or dedicated. So the difference between share and dedicated is you have a dedicated resources. Share is like a multi-tenant, like you have a tenant. You have an apartment and you share that's what it is. Share meaning like you share resources. Dedicated is you have dedicated instances for that for this instance. So you're not sharing it when you're not sharing the hardware. So we're gonna pick share. That's what we want. This will cost you more money if you put dedicated. Elastic preferences, we're gonna leave it as default. T2 enable unlimited. This is like you get credit if you're not utilizing your CPU. So that's what it is. All right. So metadata accessibility, we're gonna leave all these as default. So let's go to the next storage. So this is how you have storage. So for this instance that we pick, by default, we already have an EBS type of storage. So AWS have different storage type. There's EBS and then there's magnetic. Magnetic tend to be slower. EBS is always SSD by default. And then you can pick the IO if you want to get more throughput out of your EBS. So we're gonna leave it as default. So, but for this route, we can just pick, you can change it to 12 or 20, it depends. So the size is how much disk resources you're gonna be using. So you can always increase your disk. So AWS has a feature where you can increase your disk horizontally. but you can scale down. That's what it is. You can always increase. You can add additional storage. If you wanted to add additional storage, you can always add. But we're gonna just keep everything default the way it is. Tagging, you can also add tag. So you can create your own tag. So for example, you can say name, and you can give it a name. You can say AWS Group Nigeria. So tagging is just a way for you to be able to tag your resources, which is your instance. So like if you're creating multiple instances, you can tag them based on name, key. You can use different tagging method as well. Well, we're just going to use name, and then we're going to call it name. Our key is going to be name, and then you give it a value. So we're going to be using this. So the next is security group. So what is security group? So security group is a way of you allowing access to your instances from within your VPC, which is your private network, or outside, which is your public network. So, which is from the public. So you can create a new security group, or you can use an existing one. So for us, you already create one, but you can create a new one. You can call it, whatever name you want. And then you can add a rule. So rule is what type of access you what if you want SSH, if you want, what type of protocol is it, UDP or TCP protocol, port. You can specify range, or you can specify ports. You can also do custom IP. Give it an IP subnets, CIDR. So the way the IP source look like, it has to be in this format. So it has to be some kind of like 10, something like this. So you specify the CRDR, which is your network subnet range that you wanted to use. So in this scenario, you can pick, and then you can give it a description. So we already have if you have an existing security group, you can always pick one that you already created. Like I said, you can create one, or you can select one. So we're just gonna select one that is already been created here. We go to the launch. So we go to the launch, and you can review your selection. So you can review your selection. So you can look at the instance type. You can check to make sure like everything is right. So this is what we select when we are picking the instances. Then you can look at the storage, and you can look at the tagging. All right. So let me go back to the security group for 1 second. Let's go back here. All right. So when you're selecting type of security group, you can use a custom rule. So the custom rules is you select the rules, if it's TCP rules, and then you can select port range. So you can say between this port range 2000, and then you can select an IP that you wanted to give access. So the source IP will always be the IP that you're gonna be coming from to access the instances. So for example, if you're trying to log in SSH or trying to connect to your web server, which you're gonna do, you have to first we have two rules that we're gonna set up for this demo. So the first rule is the SSH, and then the second rule is the HTTP. What is it? HTTP rules. There we go. So two rules that we're going to be using, because first we want to be able to log into that instance to SSH. The second rule is we want to be able to set up a web server so that we can access it through port 80, which is the HTTP port. So that's what you got to always have in mind, that how do you specify your rules, security group. You have to define what access you're going to be giving to this instance. I would not suggest to do this. Most people always do is they will leave this. So they will leave this TCP or, and then they will leave this to 00. So what this means is you telling from your configuration, security configuration rules, that you want to give access to the world so everybody can get access to your instance. I would not recommend this for SSH, but for port 80, you can, because 80 is just like people accessing your instance, accessing your AWS EC2 through web browser. So they're not actively trying to log in. But if you, for something like, SSH, or if you leave everything open, so that means you are more vulnerable for attack from outside. So this is something that you just have to be careful when you launching AWS instances, that you're not exposing your instances to everybody. So this is just common practice, but for purpose of testing, you can leave it, because we're gonna shut it down anyway. So you can leave it open for everybody, but in a real world, we just want to keep it. We want to keep it secure as possible. All right, so we're just gonna pick a 16 one that we already did. So this is the one that I created already. This one has some configuration already. I use my ISP network to get access to SSH. But this is just more, if you're doing your own your own practice, you can use the same principle that I just mentioned, that you lock it down to a security, to an IP address, or you lock it down to the subnet, so that you're not exposing your EC2 instance to the world. All right, so this is our review. Let's launch it so we can start working. All right, you're gonna launch. So once you click launch, let me cancel this. So once you click, so you can also edit all this configuration. You can go back and edit if you wanted to make any changes. So we want to launch, and it's going to prompt you to use create existing key pair. Use an existing key pair or create a new one. So what this means is AWS, for you to be able to get access to these instances, you have to have some kind of a public key and private key a file, and AWS allows you to create one on the fly. From here, you can create one, or you can use an existing one. So if you're creating one, it's gonna ask you for a name, and then you can download the key. So what you are actually storing on your PC is a PEM file. So what the PEM file is, just a private key file. This is how AWS allows you to access the EC2 instances. So just keep it in mind, that during the launching of your EC2 instances, you will be prompted to download or create or use an existing key. If you do proceed without a key, so it tells you that you acknowledge that you will not be able to connect to the instances unless I already know the password built into this AMI. So, like because the AMI, like I said, is a customized AMI by default that you can use. We don't know what the password, initial password is when somebody else create that AMI. But if it's your own AMI, maybe you know what the password is, you can choose this option. But if you don't, like in our scenario, we don't. So we want to use the one that is that AWS suggested, which is, create a new one or use an existing one. So we're gonna create an existing. We're gonna use an existing one because we already create one. If you don't have existing one, just click create new, and then it will ask you for a name, and then you can download. All right. So choose an existing one, acknowledge, and launch. So it's gonna take about 2 to 3 minutes for it to launch. So to see what is running, so you can click on this ID, which is your instance ID, or you can go back and you can click on EC2. So for the sake of getting easy, we're just gonna click here. And then you can look at, make this bigger. So you can look at so this is the tag that we did. Remember when we create our tagging, we call it AWS Group Nigeria. So this is the tag that we created. And then this is the instant ID. This is how AWS associate your instances, giving it a unique name. This is the instant type, which availability zone. Remember when I said zones? These are the zones. These are the data center. This is where this is the data center that these instances is located at. US East 1. So US meaning US. East means what region, which is the East, US East region. And then 1A meaning the data center location, which is the 1A. So there's 1B there. So it's different. So you can select which one. So this is the region, US East, and the data center is 1A. So you have 1A, 1B, 1C, multiple. So you can, so those data centers are also redundancy for AWS and also allows you to be able to select which one is closer to you. Is running. Status check is just tell you the health status of the instance. If you configure an alarm like cloud alarm, you can select one. So I remember, like I talk about the IP. So we have public key, public DNS and the private IP. So this one lives in the VPC. Remember the VPC that I mentioned, that VPC is virtual private cloud, meaning like your own private network. So you get a private IP. This is not exposed to the world. Public DNS, this is your public IP, which is also the DNS that AWS automatically gives to any instances that is launched and has a public IP. So anybody, if you have questions, you can post it, and Sam, you can ask me any question.
Yeah, I do have a few questions that have come in. Okay. Other members of the group have actively been, responding to the questions, so that's good. But
that's good. That's good.
So I'll still ask them anyways, just so we can highlight it here and everybody can know about it. Okay. The first question is, if you are in Nigeria, which AZ would you use?
All right. So let me just go back. So if you're in Nigeria, the best is to use the Europe AZ because the Europe region is closer to Nigeria. And the reason why I said it because if you look at the distance between Frankfurt or London, it's probably like some thousands. I don't know how much, but it's more closer. And you can check, you can confirm. But I find that I've checked that Frankfurt, London, Paris, those are more closer to Nigeria in terms of region-wise. So like I said, if you wanted to run workload on AWS, I would suggest to pick any of these Europe data center region. So you can pick Frankfurt Frankfurt is more closer. If South Africa data center is available, I think that one should be the one you should pick, but it's not available right now. It's still underdeveloped. So, but for now, I would suggest to pick, Frankfurt. Frankfurt is well established. They put a lot of resources and effort in Frankfurt. You can also pick Ireland or London or Paris or Stockholm, whichever one you feel. But I would suggest to pick Europe, Frankfurt, or London, closer to Nigeria.
Cool. Another question. Also related to this one, like you just answered, they say, what is the best region to use from Nigeria? So yes, Akim answered that.
Yeah.
You want to use the Frankfurt. Generally, any region that is in Europe is are preferable. But if you want to be specific, you can go for the Frankfurt one, and then you can use any AZs within Frankfurt region for your.
Yep.
Another question is, what's the best port range for TCP?
Port range for TCP, you have to be specific on what application are you running. So like, are you
exactly?
There's no like a default. It just depends on your resources, on how you want to consume those resources.
Exactly. And I also think one thing we probably need to clarify for people that maybe do not know. Can you give us a brief reason? What is EC2?
Oh, what is EC2? So EC2 is Elastic Cloud Computing. So think about it, it's just like an acronym that AWS should use to, like you have Azure, you have, Google Compute. It's the same thing with AWS. So in the initial stage of AWS, they used to call it computing, Elastic Computing Cloud. So that is how AWS identified their, resources in a cloud, which is, VP, virtual private server in the cloud, which is also instances in the cloud. So that's what, it's just an acronym to identify, the resources.
Got it. One last question before you continue. Can you talk briefly about what the difference between a public IP, an elastic IP, and a private IP, what they are?
All right. So the public IP, like I said, is your public facing IP. So what is public? Meaning like it's outside to the world. Meaning like anybody can. So like if you look in this public IP is accessible to anyone from outside, meaning like it's exposed. When you're talking about private, you are limiting connection from the outside or from any other resource, from any other network to get access to your network. So private means like you lock it down to your subnet or to your account or to your, so whatever it is you want. So you can also have private network within your subnet. So you can say this I want. So the way you use that is you segregate your. So you can have a VPC for accounting department. You can have VPC for your finance, and then you want to limit that. Okay, somebody from maybe HR cannot have access to accounting network. So you can limit and segregate. But if you use it public, meaning like you want this EC2 to be accessible to the public, meaning like anybody that goes, like if you want to, like for example, for like a web hosting, which is what we're gonna do, you want to have it public because anybody can get access to it. If you keep it limited, that means nobody from outside can get access to it. So I hope I explained it better.
Yes, you did. Thank you. You can continue. There's sorry, I do have one question.
Okay.
The one last one, and you can continue. Is it possible to shut down the servers to save cost?
Yes, that's you can. You can. So the cost that you're gonna save is the EC2 itself, which is the cost of the server, which is the cost of the EC2, which is the instance. But everything else, which is storage, you're still going to be charged for the storage. So I just want you to be clear. Meaning that you shut it down, yes, your cost will reduce. You won't be charged for the amount of time that is being shut down when it's been unused. But you're still going to be paying for storage and other resources.
Okay, you can continue.
Right.
And please, if you have any questions, feel free to post them in the chat, post them in the WhatsApp group. I am collecting questions. I know some people have questions that are not directly related to this demo. I will take those and we'll still answer them in the WhatsApp group eventually. But for now, let's focus on the demo. After the demo, we can address other questions that are not related to the demo specifically into the group.
All right. So now, while I was asking questions, so the EC2 instances is up. I mean, it's ready. So how do you know if it's ready? Once you see the instance state and it says running, and you check the status check, and everything comes out okay. So the status check is just to say, okay, your instance is available to be used, to be consumed. If you see this status check, like, it came back and it says fail or error or whatever, and you don't get the screen green check, so something is telling you that something is happening with it's not ready to be used. So you might have problem connecting to it, or you might have problem having it functioning. But as long as you get green check, so that means everything is ready to go. So how do you connect to your EC2 instances? So there's different ways you can connect. So if you click on the connect options menu on the top here, and you click on it, it gives you different options to connect. So here it says a standalone SSH client. So to access your instance, open SSH client. So you have to download some client, and it gives you an option to download Putty. If you're using Windows, if you're using Mac OS, by default, you have something called Terminal that you can also use, which is built into your Mac. Or if you're Windows user, you can download the Putty. Just click on this download. And if you want, we can send you the link as well. So locate the locations. This is very important. Like, see, I have existing PEM. So that means my existing PEM, I have to have it available. So I have to know where my PEM is stored. So that's the thing that you have to be able to find it. And then your key must not be a public variable for SSH to work. So what does mean is your key must have some kind of a permission where is only read access, is not read or write access. For some of you are Linux, char mode is just a way of setting permission on your file. So you make this read only, which is 400, and then you connect. So how do you connect? You do SSH -I, mean the location of your private key, and then the user, and then the host name, which is DNS. So for Windows, I'm sorry, I'm using Mac. I would have show the Windows. So for Windows, once you download your Putty, you have an option to specify, the username, the host name, which is the DNS, and also the location of your private key. So once you download this private key, just make sure you change the permission to read only. That is now write and execute. All right, so I'm going to find my AWS location. I'm going to share my screen later on. I'm just trying to find where the key is. Give me a second. All right. All right. All right, so let's log in. All right, so we're gonna get these. Let me bring my terminal here. All right, so we're gonna take this and we're gonna log in. So I'm gonna go into where my so the location where you store your keys. Then you're gonna log in. So for the first time, I'll ask you. So just copy this. Let's say just copy this command and then just paste it. Just make sure you're in the location where you store your key. Just say yes. All right. So once you log in, it will give you a prompt, just asking you, that you log in and you can do sudo. So we log in. You can type in if you're a Linux user. You can type in commands. You can do all kind of Linux command that you want. So for the purpose of this demo, what we wanted to do is we wanted to install. We wanted to run a web server. So let's go back. All right. So now that we log in, we wanted to install a web server. So for Linux, for some of you, the Linux user, and so let me just, why are we using Linux? I'm sorry for Windows user out there. Sorry if I'm, talking about Linux, but the reason why we're using Linux is Linux is free and it's easy for like to do demo. We're not going through all these windows and I hope somebody out there who's Windows expert, if you want to do demo about EC2 instance on Linux, you can also welcome. But we just choose Linux because Linux is very, it's open source and is widely used. So that's the reason why we're using Linux. And I suggest people should start learning Linux because there's a lot of benefit to it. So that's just it's widely used, it's open source, a lot of the softwares and the application you can download for free, but in Windows, you have to go through all these licenses and all that stuff. So this is the reason why we're using Linux. I hope you guys understand. All right, so once you log in, you can do sudo, so there's a command that you can use to update or install and update your software. So we can do sudo yum update. So sudo yum update will update all these the software to the latest version. And you do -y, you just need to prompt everything. Sorry. So say yum command is not installed. Sorry, I'm sorry. I'm thinking about, I'm in Ubuntu. I'm thinking about is CentOS or Red Hat. So for Ubuntu, it's sudo apt get and update, I believe. So the reason why I'm running sudo update is just to, sudo apt-get update is to update the OS to the latest version. Make it bigger, to the latest version, so that when we running our applications, web server, everything's already up to date. So it tells you, packages installed, everything is up to date. So now you're gonna do sudo apt-get. So what we're gonna be using is Apache web server. So you can use other web server. You can use Node.js. You can use Tomcat. You can use all kind of web server that you wanted to use to host your website. But in this case, we're gonna use Apache because it's widely used. So we're gonna do sudo install Apache Apache, Apache 2. Yep. So Apache. So what the thing about using apt-get is also install all the dependencies. So that is the best. Instead of trying to install everything manually, it does install everything for you and all the dependency. And we can make this command available for everyone too. So maybe we'll send out these steps to everyone. So it's just going to installing the dependency. All right, so we have Apache running on the server. So to check if Apache is running, all right, so there's a command that you use, and we can send all this command to after the demo. So there's a command to check if Apache is running, and it's called systems CTL for Ubuntu. Other version of Linux has its own flavor of how do you check services. But and then Windows, you go to services and you check if it's running. It's the same thing for Linux. So we use this command, and then we'll see the status, and then we wanted to check the services, which is Apache 2, and then it's telling us Apache is running. So when we install Apache, it automatically start the Apache services for us by default, so which is good. All right, so now Apache is running. Now we wanted to host our first website. So I'm going to show you one way, and I'm going to show you the other ways that you can use it from a code development perspective. So, all right, so we're going to go into our web root. So the Ubuntu Apache web root is always var. So the root of your web server. So web server, let me just iterate. Web server is a server that hosts your website. So when you configure your instances to become a web server, you have to follow this step, which is meaning like you have a web services running, which is a web server services running, which is the Apache that we install, and then we'll have it running. And also, there's also a document root, which is the location of your website. So the document, the Apache, the web server document root is where your website location, where your website is going to reside, is going to be accessible to the world. So by default, and you can always change this, but for the demo that we're going to use the default is var/var triple dot. And here you can, HTML. So this is where you can put your website. So by default, the location is var www, HTML. So now if we go to our to our domain, which is this DNS, if we click on the DNS, we go to the web browser, and we type in the DNS. Okay, EC2. And this is how you confirm if Apache or web server is running. So you say Apache 2, Ubuntu default. This tells you that your instances now can run a website. The web server is running. So this is the default, but we're gonna change this. to our website. So let's create a website. And for the purpose of demo, I'm just going to create. So what we can do is we can delete this index. So there's an index. So there's this content called index.html, which is by default is the location where your web server is going to be looking for if you host any website, is this location. And if you find anything called index.html, it's going to load it by default. So what we can do is we can delete this file, or we can rename it. And then we're going to create, I got to use sudo. So we're going to create our own website. So this is just the purpose of demo. We're not going to do anything fancy, but you just get the gifts. I'm just using regular H tag, nothing fancy. All right, so make a mistake. This one. All right, so let's go back to our, and I'm going to explain what I did. Okay, and then you just see that this is our website, new website, hello world, demo in progress. So let me go back to what I just did. So what I did is, after I confirm the Apache is running, and I go to the default location of Apache or web server default root, which is where all the websites is stored by default, which is this location. It's called var www HTML. So var, this is the location by default for Apache. And you can always change this in the Apache configuration, but that's not the topic for this discussion. But this is just to show you how to run a website on newly running EC2 instances that we just did. So, and then when I went into this location, default location, by default, there's a file called index.html. This index.html is used by default on every website. So if you go to every website, by default, it's always looking for this index of HTML, ASP, or .php, whichever one. So by default, there's a one that's already available. But what I did is I renamed it using this command, index, move this file to the new location, call it index2, and I create a new one using vi index. This is supposed to be index.1, index.html, but I move it to index.html. So by default, so what I mean by default is you don't have to specify the location, like slash, location of the file. So by default, it will automatically pick looking for the index.html file. All right, so this is how you create your first website. So now, I know the time is running out, but we wanted to use GitHub to define our code. So like, we just want to have we just want to have a code that we develop in a GitHub, and then we wanted to push it to our instance so that we can manage our code from the from the GitHub. All right.
Yes.
So
Sorry, Akim, let me step in. So we are running out of time.
yeah, we have.
So I think what we should do is to cover the questions that have come in.
Okay.
And if there are any users that are willing to, go forward with the session, and, while you go and introduce using GitHub to manage your code and, just general version control stuff, they can stay behind. But then we can answer the questions that are out there now. And
Sure.
since we have generally covered the topic, which is, hosting a simple web server on
Okay.
EC2.
Okay.
Cool. So first question is there any difference between AWS instance and DigitalOcean Droplet?
Yes. So the difference is, I mean, both of them are hosting company. They provide the same resources, which is, cloud server, cloud computing resources. But the difference is AWS is the leader. DigitalOcean is more designed towards a community base, which is developers. Is DigitalOcean is more cheaper because I use it, and I notice the differences. And AWS has a lot of engineers, a lot of features, a lot of services compared to DigitalOcean. DigitalOcean is just trying to keep up with AWS. Well, AWS they've been in the game for 20 years and they are the leader. So that's the only difference. And they have more services, much resources available. So the innovation of AWS is better than DigitalOcean.
Cool. Thank you. Another question. Is there anything wrong with NGINX servers? Like someone mentioned that they notice a reluctance of people using NGINX on AWS. I don't know if you have any experience with that in general.
NGINX, you can run NGINX on AWS. I don't think there's any problem with it. It's just like, I don't know, because NGINX runs on multi-threading, and if you're running a low instance on AWS, like selecting one of those low EC2 instance stack that doesn't have a lot of computing resources, so you might get a lot of latency compared to if you use a better EC2 instance, because it's the way Nginx works with Apache. Apache doesn't use multi-threading. Apache uses processes. Nginx use multi-threading, meaning like it's trying to like run one thread and then assign it to different resources. So that's the only thing I can take off. There might be other idea but I think your limitation might be because of the resources that you have with AWS.
Yes, and another thing I might have noticed is also NGINX is generally used sometimes as a load balancer. A lot of people use NGINX for load balancing, but AWS provides its own load balancing system. So if you were to use NGINX regularly and AWS has a load balancer, then the number of people that would use NGINX would decrease unless they specifically need NGINX for that purpose. Mm-hmm. So I guess the answer might mostly be if people choose what they feel comfortable using. So if it solves the most of their problems, they will use it. And if NGINX doesn't solve most people's problems, then that's probably why they're not using it. But I don't personally know of any statistics that say NGINX is not being used. People are reluctant to use NGINX or any other one.
Yeah, you're right, because AWS has their own load balancer. And it makes sense to use AWS load balancer because it's better performance than using the EC2 load balancer.
Correct. One more question. Can an EC2 instance be used for a mobile app, or is a mobile app only, is EC2 only for a web server? Someone is running a stockbroking web portal. I believe this is Haruna. He's running a stockbroking web portal, and he's planning to do the same with 2 mobile app stores. So I guess the question is, can EC2 be used to host a mobile app?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can use wherever you can use AWS to host multiple different things. Like you can use it for hosting web server. You can use it for mobile app. You can use it for like, you know, for AI. You can use it for, it's a lot of stuff you can use it for. Like, you know, you can run a software application on it. This, I mean, like I said, the resources is out there for you to use in AWS. That's what AWS does. They give you all the resources and you can consume it to your capacity and also to your project. So, you know, that's, I've seen company using AWS to run clinical software that is catered to run coronavirus. So it's currently running. People are using it for like AI. People are using it to run stimulation. There's so many things. So I don't think there's a specific limitation. It's broad.
Exactly. I guess another reason why a lot of people use AWS EC2 or any other AWS is because of how big their space is. They are doing almost anything, like from databases to EC2 to AI to machine learning to, you know, caching to just name it, you know, and they are in all, you know, areas. So if you are trying to integrate, say, your mobile app with Elastic Cache, with DynamoDB, with something easily, AWS is most likely going to be your choice. And, you know, if you want to be updating your infrastructure as well, AWS is what most people jump into compared to other ones like DigitalOcean or, you know, all the other like traditional ones out there, Rackspace and the rest. So just those are all the questions we have. And that's this, I think it's a good place to end our session, the general session right here. However, there's still some extra things that Akim has that he would like to show us how it's done, you know, version control and how to have your website, you know, manage your website using version control from GitHub. This is basically a step into a lot of people that are involved in DevOps, a lot of people that have CI/CD running in their infrastructure, this or that want to introduce it. This is kind of like a step in or a peek into that aspect and to show you how things are done in there. This is not going to be like a full deep dive into GitHub or, you know, deep dive into DevOps or CI/CD or anything like that. But this is just kind of like a bonus to this session that we already had. So feel free, if you have time and if you're available, please stay with us. And if you run out of time, you know, thank you for coming and enjoy the rest of the day. Stay safe. Akim, please go ahead.
All right. So thank you, Sam. So this is just a bonus point for somebody who are more like doing a development work and wanted to be able to, you know, see how you can use AWS in a different way rather than just like, okay, this is just an EC2. What can I use it for? So in this scenario, if you do some kind of exposure to GitHub, there's a way you can also push your code to your EC2 instances. So rather than just going to, you see how I did it on the instances and using a command line to edit using VI, and, you know, sometimes it could be cumbersome and also it could be difficult to track those changes. So using something like GitHub is also probably good for most of people who do development work. So what we do is we create a repo. So GitHub is, like you said, is version control for your code repository, and you can use it to create your own development work or, you know, track changes and then push those changes into your EC2 instances or any instances of your choice. So for these demo purposes, and I know the time is already gone, but I just want to show you how we can use GitHub to push our code. So in this scenario, let's say we're creating a website and then we have our website code developed in GitHub, and then this is our allocation. This is the repo that we're working on. And I know if some of you, if you're not exposed to GitHub, maybe you take some, you know, just take time to learn GitHub. And I'm not gonna go over that, but, you know, just you can go through that at your own time. But basically, somebody who's already know GitHub or who's wanted to use some kind of version control to see how you can push your code. So you create your own repo. you go to you can create your own. You can create your own repository. So for the purpose of this demo, we already have one created, so we're gonna use it. But to create one, you just go in and create one. So we already create one called website demo. This is the file that we're gonna use. So this is the file. So you can click here and edit. And we can just do. All right, so type in. Then I'm just gonna merge it to commit changes to the master branch. You can create a pull request. Like I know some of you doing DevOps or doing development, CI/CD. You can do some kind of like pull request to create a pull request and then do some kind of like CI auto trigger. But that is a different topic for today. But today we just want to see how we can push the code and then we commit to the master. So you commit the code directly to the master. So I make changes to the code, and you can see your commit history and see some of the changes that's been already been made. So this is the commit that we just did today. And now we're gonna go to our website, go to the location of our web server document roots, which is the default. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna clone. So we're gonna clone the repo. So how do you clone the repo? Click here. You do git clone. So using git clone. So git clones allow you to clone your repo. Permission denied. Just to sudo. When you get permission, when you get permission denied, just like you need to use sudo command. So what I'm doing is I just clone my repo, and if you do ls-l, that's the repo right there. So if I take this location and and you see this is my new website. So my new website is now the changes that I just made thanks to joining the demo, which is this one. It's now showing up on the website. So I mean on the server. So this is just a simple demo for some of you who wanted to know how AWS work with how do you use AWS instances for like running a web server. You can use it to run anything, but this is just an example. This is just a scenario. There's so many things you can do with AWS. So just to let everybody know, I'm not selling AWS. I'm a user of AWS, and I use other cloud computing resources. But I just find AWS to be, the one of the best out there in terms of innovation and making a development work and everything else easy. So if anybody has any other questions or concern or like anything, this is the time to ask questions. If not, then we can just make this demo complete.
Hi, Akim.
Yep.
This is fine. I just want to say a very thank you for this wonderful presentation.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah, and the only contribution I would want to make is because for beginners, they might be wondering, like when you started, I was expecting you would have shown them how to log into the console because some are like how do we even get started?
Oh, okay.
So, it's also
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
Start from
That's actually good. Romanus, that's actually a good question. Actually, I was thinking that should be easy, like everybody will know, but like, I was just assuming like, okay, everybody will know how to log, but that's a very good suggestion. Like, how do you log into AWS, and how do you get access to AWS? And I can go over it just for the purpose of people who are. Let me see if I can still share my screen. And I know the demo is already over.
Sure. I mean, another thing that, to keep in mind is that there was some documentation that was shared initially.
Yeah, we did. We did.
Kind of like to prepare people ahead of time, right? So that because we didn't have enough time, so we may not have had time to go through like how to create an AWS account, how to create an IAM user, like do you use root or IAM, like all those kind of things. We couldn't have dived into it, but this was definitely a good call out. And thank you very much for that.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Sam, for bringing it out. We already have people to do it as like a take, like preparation to like get familiar and something to read. But I know most people probably joining, they probably don't look into the write up. So yeah, I mean, maybe the next time we can show it. I know time is out of our time now, so maybe something we can do next time. Or what do you think? Or do you want us to show?
Sure. And like we said, we the goal is to have monthly sessions like this. So if there's any topic, even if it is just how to log into AWS, let us know. If there's a lot of people that are interested in learning this topic, we will schedule a presentation and we'll address this topic so people can learn, people can share with others and ask questions like this. So yes, please, if you have any questions, please ask us now. If you have any ideas, if there's any specific topics, please let us know. If you have something that you have worked on recently and you want to share that with the group, with the community, please feel free to reach out to any of the admins, myself or Akim, and let us know, and we'll schedule a time. You can prepare with us, and we can share this information with the community.
Yep.
Hello.
I need.
Yeah, please, can I say something, please? Can I ask something?
Sure. Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay, please, I want to find out, can you give me a range of a cost of setting up a small lab of, say, 1 gigabyte storage of database of 500 meg and a small AD, Windows domain controller? Is it possible to have a range like that, maybe for like 3 months, to have it like, can I have a cost like that? The Windows server, the database server with 500 meg storage, just for like 3 months. Is it possible to have a range like that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, Kim, do you think you can throw any number out there?
I would say, why can't you use the free tier one that I just demo? Those are free.
The challenge is the key, is the window key, like
license
key. A license key for SQL Server and.
Okay, yeah. So.
Yes.
I think. I don't know if I can come in.
Yeah, please.
Okay.
Yeah, I think what he's asking, he just want to have an idea into what the cost will be, and that is achievable. If you can just give the specification, I'll be able to do the estimate for you, and you can have a look at it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice. Thank you, Romanos. And I think another thing is probably a good time to mention this. So we do have a sandbox account. We shared it with the group, and you can access it if you reach out to any of the admins through the Slack channel. We can create a user for you. and you can do some work, but obviously the budget is limited. It's not like we have a lot of money, and we are open to receiving funding. So if you are interested in contributing so that the account can be fueled more, please feel free to. But we have a budget and it's very small, and we try to watch the account and make sure that we doesn't go over that budget. So feel free to reach out to any of the admins through the Slack channel for credentials, and try to use free tier as much as possible. And we have guidelines, and we can share those guidelines on using the Sandbox account as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I would also appreciate if you can send the specification, your specification to the user group WhatsApp handle.
Okay, all right.
I can get back to you on that.
Yeah.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. And I want to ask a question regarding to serverless development. So what I actually want to ask is about what your advice would be for deploying an end-to-end serverless application. Something like deploying your backend services on AWS Lambda, and so I'm thinking where can I deploy my UI if I also want to use serverless services end-to.
Yeah. So that's.
Can you? Oh, go ahead, Akim.
I just want to make a few comments. So the way the serverless works is you can leverage serverless. So serverless is just like you not spinning up any competing resources. You just you're computing based on usage. So it depends on how you want it to leverage. So there's a Lambda, there is DynamoDB, there's all kind of serverless resources out there for AWS. So you can run your UI, you can run anything. So it depends on the expertise and how can you leverage the serverless. So I would suggest to start looking around those serverless resources in AWS like Lambda. I know Lambda is probably good, but what Lambda does is just trigger an event. And then the event can be maybe a call to your resources, your EC2 resources. But if you want to use serverless, then you have to go a little bit further to see, what would that triggering be? Should it be DynamoDB? Should it be, other services that is now computing Testify.
Sure. I think another thing I can add is if you're trying to figure out how or where to deploy your front end, I believe maybe that's what you're asking. S3, you can look into using Amazon S3 as a front end. You can use S3, and you can also maybe use AWS EC2. Those are possible options that you can use for your front end. You just have to figure out a way to connect the front end to your back end APIs.
Okay, I've been wondering if S3 could talk to any back, to maybe Lambda or any.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay.
Yeah. You can use Lambda. You can use Lambda to trigger your S3. But if you're talking about storing data, I would suggest to look into DynamoDB, which is more like a serverless, or using some kind of Aurora database, which is also serverless as well. And then you can use S3 for your storage.
Any of the, are you talking about the managed database services?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I think we have another question from Yomi. Yomi, did you want to ask a question? Hello, Yomi, are you there? I guess not. Sure, yeah, any other questions?
All right, I think no questions. So
okay, yeah. So Yomi is still raising his hand. Yomi, do you still have any other questions? If you are speaking, we cannot hear you. Maybe you're muted.
I think it's mute.
Hello.
Yes, is that Yomi?
No, this is not Yomi.
Okay.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Hello. Hello.
Yes,
Hello.
Yemi, go ahead.
Yeah,
Yemi, go ahead.
we can hear you.
Yes, I would like to ask the job opportunity that is available for an AWS certified personnel in Nigeria, because I've been trying to see opportunities available, but I find out that they are all far away, and the closest I could see is South Africa. And when you get to apply, they tend to tell you they can't process your work permit and all those things. It's going to give them a lot of difficulties. So I wanted to know the kind of opportunities that are available in Nigeria in the country for us to make use of our certifications. Thank you.
Sure. Akim, do you want to answer, or do you have any ideas? Or anybody in the...
I mean, for me, I'm thinking like looking to some of the companies that is using AWS and trying to apply to those companies. There probably not a lot of them in Nigeria. You can also look into freelancing to work for international company who's looking for someone expertise beyond, across the globe. So I would say, you can start as a freelancer because, it might be difficult to get companies in Nigeria that's using AWS. But freelancing will probably be the best options to start.
Sure. And also to add, like if you are certified and knowledgeable in AWS, one thing you can consider is trying to reach out to companies and offering them proposals, on how you can help them better, save costs or maybe scale up better because of your knowledge and experience with AWS. Or even people that have ideas. Like there's a few people out there that are trying to set up infrastructure or try to start new tech, and they don't know how to go about it. So if you know this kind of people, or if you're a part of this kind of communities, you can recommend AWS solutions for them. That's one way to get yourself a job.
Well, I also want to add that if you have got certified, you don't just wait and say there are no jobs in Nigeria, because there are jobs, AWS jobs or other cloud jobs in Nigeria. It's all about how you present yourself or you package yourself, if I'm to use that word. Because I tell you, in the last 6 months, I've changed job twice, and all are cloud-based in Nigeria. So it's all about how you present yourself and how you seek out opportunities. There are jobs that are cloud-related that are not filled today, but because people, one, don't present themselves, and two, they don't have the required skills. So, but I would also advise, if we can pick up DevOps skills, we see that there are jobs here in Nigeria that one can really pick up if we are certified.
Sure. And also let's take these opportunities to leverage, members of this community. If you're looking for a job and you are certified, or you have skills that you think are solid, please share on the WhatsApp group, and people out there will be able to reach out if they need, or if they're looking for somebody with your skill set. And let's help each other. You understand that that's part of the goal of this community. So if you see something out there, share it. If you want something, please speak up as well.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes. Go ahead.
Hello.
Go ahead, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. I really appreciate you guys. You have done a good job. Actually, I didn't start with you earlier, but I joined along the line. So you have done a good job.
Thank
you. You keep it up. And at the same time, there are job on AWS, which I know about, the May1 cable. Recently, May1 cable recruit a certified AWS. Actually, I'm not satisfied, so I didn't bother to apply because it must be certified. So at least if anybody, you can be a referral if you know about a particular job on the AWS, and you can put it on the Slack channel. I think that will really help a lot of people who are looking for this job.
Exactly.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Also, I wanted to add regarding the jobs, you could actually look at service providers in the country. So I think some of them actually work with AWS and the service companies within the Nigeria. So that would be one good option. And at the same time, you could, there are a lot of jobs for startups. So there are sites that they have startups looking for people to assist them in certain capacities. They probably might not pay you like a full-fledged company would do, but you could also, there are sites online where you can get jobs like as an intern and stuff like that on online. So I think it's worth looking around, and there are a lot of work-from-home jobs online if you really do if you search properly. I think remote.co is one site that does to quite list some of these openings, and there are a couple of other ones online.
Thank you.
Yeah, you probably
guys, last few questions, please.
Yeah, please.
Hello.
Yes.
Okay, I want to make a suggestion, please.
Go ahead.
Okay, I think first of all, I want to really say a very big thank you. I'm just like a beginner to AWS. I've been using DigitalOcean for some months now. So I just want to know what it's like using cloud technology and all that. So I really appreciate your effort so far. And I think God will help us along the way. What I want to make a suggestion is, if this community, as we've started, it's able to train people, help them to get certified, and maybe they are able to go and look for a job, I think it will be better, because you know that if you are joining this kind of community, if you are not certified and you have the skill, they can help you in any way. Maybe you train yourself again and get certified so that you can have the confidence to do the job. Because one thing I know about being certified is it gives you that level of confidence that people that are not certified don't have. If there is a platform like this that can help build the confidence, train, because the exercise and the demo we did today is something that I'm kind of familiar with. And when I see you doing it, I was really excited because I've not done it on EC2 before. And now I can probably say I can do it on EC2 and all that. So this kind of training should just give us heads up into what we should be expecting. You do this kind of training, you get certified, maybe you can have a better job and all that. So that way, it will help the community grow. That's just my own suggestion.
Yeah, thank you. This is the last question. So I just want to, for the last wrap up. So looking for AWS job or any cloud job it could be challenging, but at the same time, it depends on your experience. So, I mean, for us running AWS resources and using, and I know that if you don't have the expertise to help a company, so what company is looking for, they're looking for somebody who can come in and help them and save money or improve their productivity or take their innovation to the next level. So this is how you should be looking at it, to like, how can I help this company? Not just come to learn, but also trying to learn on your own. Like, so the stuff that we do today as a demo is just for the beginning, for you to start thinking about what scenario can this AWS skills, can it be used or can you be leveraged in the real world? Because that's what companies are looking for. They're looking for somebody who will come in and save them money. They're looking for somebody who will come in and increase their productivity or take them to the next innovation level. So you start thinking about that and do things on your own, like practice and ask questions within the community, as some of the people that are already using AWS. And, you know, I know there's one guy that always asks questions because he wanted to get into the different career path. So do the same thing. Leverage people within the member, people are already using it. Ask questions and guidance and mentorship and all that stuff. Because we are all here to help each other and uplift each other up. So that's just my advice. All right, so this is gonna wrap up the end of the demo, the meetings, and the webinar. So thank you guys for joining. I really appreciate your time, and thanks for the presenter, Sam and I. And we're gonna be following up with the recording. And also, if anyone has anything that you wanted to share you know, this is like, so what we want this to be is real life experience, like things that people can use in the real world. Please come to us. We will put it. You know, we don't want to be the only one presenting. We want everyone who have expertise, you know, knowledge about AWS cloud computing in the real world. Please come out and share the knowledge. So thank you guys. So we're gonna close the meeting. If you guys have any questions, type it in the room, in the chat room, Slack, WhatsApp. Thank you guys. All right, thanks. Take care, guys.